Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. This is Anushka Vora. So, I'm here to let you all know that we'll be starting with a series on employee stock options, basic to advanced. As we all know, that employee stock options are becoming a very common way of compensation by the employers to the employee. There are like almost all companies now, be it private company, be it a public company, being a listed company, they have one or the other stock options to compensate their employees due to the advantages that it has both for the employer and for the employee. So we'll be talking about what are ESOPs, like what are, I'll be using ESOPs for the purpose of brevity. So what are ESOPs? What are the kinds of employee benefit schemes? Why are they so common? What are the advantages from the employer's perspective, from the employee's perspective? What are the tax advantages, tax implications on both the employer and the employee, the accounting aspects of different types of schemes, what are the who are the employees that are covered, what are the implementation, how are how are these stock options implemented. So we'll be talking about each of these as we progress with our series on ESOPs. I'll be making short videos covering certain brief portion of the topics so that we it's understandable to all of you, and I'll also be happy to take up questions in the comment section so that which I can address in the next round of my session. So today let's get started with some basic. Today I'll be talking about basics only about what are ESOPs, who are the employer, who is an employee, what are the key terminologies around it. Okay, so what is an ESOP? ESOPs are stock options which are given by an employer to an employee at a predetermined price to which the employee has a right but not an obligation to subscribe. Now, once the employee decides to exercise its right to exercise these stock options, then that gets converted into shares of the company. Okay, so employee stock options, as the name suggests, it is an option of a stock which is given to the employees who are eligible to have that stock options. Now, who can be an employer here? Employer can be any company, be it any company which has shares, which is limited by shares. So it can be a private company, it can be a unlisted public company, it can be a listed company. Now, who can be an employee? Employee would, the definition of who is an employee would depend upon who is the employer. If employer is a private company or an unlisted company, the definition of employee will be governed by the Companies Act 2013. If the employer is a listed company, the definition will be governed by the provisions of the respective SEBI regulation, which is SEBI Share-Based Employee Benefit and Sweat Equity Regulations 2021, which I'll be addressing as SBEB regulations for the purpose of brevity. So now let's see what is the definition of employee both under the Companies Act and under the SBEB regulations. What is the difference between the two? So what is the difference here? I have highlighted in this particular slide. So under Companies Act, it includes the permanent employees of the company who's been working in India or outside India, permanent employee of the company's subsidiary in India, outside India, or of the holding. It includes directors, whether WTD or not, and independent directors are not included. When I talk about SBEB regulations, one difference is that when previously there was 2014 regulation. With respect to share-based, it was share-based regulations in 2014, which were repealed, and then 2021 came into picture. So under the 2014 regulations, they also mentioned the concept of permanent employee. But here, when the regulations were changed, the word permanent was removed, and now it says an employee as designated by the company. So now, under the listing regulation, under the SBB regulations, it includes non-permanent employee also, which is an employee who is working is on a probation or is working on a contractual basis, is also included. Then independent directors are not included. When we talk about exclusions, other than the independent directors, promoter or a person belonging to the promoter group is not included. Second is any director who holds directly or indirectly more than 10% of the outstanding equity shares of the company is not included. In case of Companies Act, there is an exemption with respect to this promoter or promoter group and a director. There's an exemption for like to promote startups. MCA came with exemption notification wherein the startups up to 10 years of incorporation, they don't, this exclusion under the Companies Act is not applicable on them. Okay, so this was about the definition of employee. Employer can be any company which is limited by shares, a public company, unlisted public company, a private company, a listed company. The definition of employee would depend upon who is the employer, whether it is a private company, whether it is an unlisted public company, whether it is a listed company. In case of unlisted public company and private company, it would be same only as Companies Act will be applicable. Okay, so this was about definition of employer and employee. Now, if we see, there are some key terminologies under the when we talk about ESOPs, which is grant, vest, vesting period, vesting schedule, exercise, exercise price, exercise period. We'll talk about each of them one by one. So, grant is giving of options. So, grant is when options are given to the employees, which we studied just now, like who are the employees. Who does the granting? Granting is done by a committee. That committee is a committee as per section 178 of the Companies Act, which is the Nomination Remuneration Committee. And if it's a listed company, as per regulation 19 of listing regulations, which is this compensation committee here is the NRC, which was formed under the respective provision of Companies Act and listing regulations. Now, let's say it's a private company, so which is not required to have a nomination remuneration committee. In that case, the board can do the grants. Next is what will be the grant date. So grant date is when that committee or the board, as the case may be, they grant the options to the employees who are eligible. What is vesting? So vesting is the process by which those grants will vest in me. Say I'm an employee, I have been granted some stock options. So vesting is the process by which those options will vest in me and I'll be eligible to exercise. So vesting is I become eligible, like those options granted have vested in me and now I am eligible to exercise. Under the Companies Act and under the SPB regulations, there's a minimum vesting period of 1 year. That is, say, for example, if I say that I have been granted some stock options today, which is August 1, 2023, those options will not vest in me before 31st July 2024. So there's a minimum vesting period of 1 year. There's no maximum vesting period, which is there can be like it's on the company's discretion to have the vesting period. Vesting period can be of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and in those 2-3 years period, the options vest as per a vesting schedule. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Same example, like I have been granted options today, which is 1st August 2023, which will vest on me not before 31st July 2024. So that's the minimum vesting period. Now say I have been granted 100 options. And the vesting schedule is as under. Just 20% will vest in me upon completion of 1 year. That is 1st August 2024. Then 30% will vest in me upon completion of 2 years, which is 1st August 2025. And 50% will vest in me upon completion of 3rd year, which is 1st August 2026. So this example is a maximum vesting period of 3 years and a minimum vesting period of 1 year. Next is exercise. When the vesting period gets over, now this vesting schedule, which I referred 20, 30, 50, that's upon company's discretion, whatever percentage they decide. And there's also sometimes performance criteria linked to that percentage. Say 20% will vest when the prices of the company or like criteria with respect to industry benchmark is achieved with which the industry with which the company is associated with. Next, we talk about exercise as and when this ratio gets like for 100 options, 20%, 20 options vested in me on 1st August 2024. So I will become eligible to exercise those 20%, that is 20 options. So exercises when I become eligible, and now I go to the company that now I'm or the NRC that I am going to exercise this option. Now after exercise, the option gets converted into share and I become the shareholder of the company. Now I can go and sell those shares. We'll talk about that as we progress with our sessions. Exercise period. Say on 1st August 2024, I become eligible to exercise 20 options. But it's not only that on that day that I become eligible. The company can specify an exercise period of say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, after which, like during which I can exercise my right to exercise those options. Say here in this case, the company has an exercise period of 2 years. So these 20 options I can exercise with effect within 2 years with effect from 1st August 2024. There's an exercise price which is predetermined, which is specified by the company, which cannot be less than the face value of the company's shares. And then there's a terminology called lock-in. Lock-in is when I have exercised. When I have exercised, my stocks have got converted into shares. Now I can sell it. So it is on the company's discretion to give a lock-in period. Say if there's a lock-in period of 1 year, I cannot sell shares until that 1 year period gets expired. So there's no minimum or maximum lock-in under these provisions. It is on the company's discretion to specify a lock-in period if any. So in this session, we'll restrict the session to only this concept, which is we talked about who is an employer, what are stock options, who is an employer, who is an employee, what are the key terminologies under the when we talk about stock options. In the next session, we'll first briefly discuss about what we had discussed today, and then we'll progress with other topics. We'll study a life cycle of ESOPs, then we'll study each and every topic in detail. Also, what is the exercise period in case of death, incapacity, termination, resignation? Does the companies have to specify a different exercise period, or it will be same as like in case of in normal scenario? We'll see about that in detail in our next session. Till then, if there is any question with respect to what we have studied now, that can be posted in the comment section. I'll be very happy to take up questions and also feedback. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll end this session now. Thank you.